Yeah. So Rosen is a company that is involved in all these trainings. Um, Take us through how it works, and maybe somebody is watching there and asking themselves, I might need some of these skills. What would Rosen do for them?
That is the mission, to have Botswana youth who are interested in becoming chefs to know how to cook our food. Because today, when you go to a cooking school, you will be learning how to cook European food. And that's why we have got difficulties to find restaurants, hotels, lodges serving our food. My mission is to any Botswana, I should go to any restaurant in Botswana and there should be a menu that contains Setswana meals.
Setswana cuisine, yes.
Exactly, because if you go to the UK, you are not going to find any restaurant that will be serving you palichi or mabele.
All right. So someone may not fully understand where the danger is with this modern chicken versus the old traditional one. Can you just explain that? This is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We enthuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. Hello, Dumela, and welcome to another episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. I'm as excited as ever to bring you yet another entrepreneur to go into a little bit of life-changing business education and to discuss all matters having to do with food, traditional cuisine, and culinary. What is the word? You'll learn very big words that are relevant to this. But a little bit of housekeeping as we get started. I have a book. It's called Momp Nuggets of Grit, and my guest is Ednah Rosen, and we're fellow authors. And the reason I mention her is that her book is also available at exclusive books, just like mine. Mine you can also get from here at Mogobe Plaza. You can call 397-1368 if you need to communicate in that regard. Another piece of housekeeping, Bagaitsu, we need for you to strike that subscribe button, that notification bell, and then like our content. It's the oxygen, I call it the oxygen of social media. It's the only way that we can keep ourselves going, keep ourselves in front of eyeballs, and keep ourselves in this space. So we need your help. It may seem like nothing, but it's very, very important. Strike that subscribe button. Having gone through those housekeeping issues, let me introduce my guest, Ednah Rosen. Welcome to the studio, madam.
Thank you so much, Herra.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you for taking the time out to be with us as a busy author.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just share a little bit of your background for those who don't know what you've been up to.
Yeah, my name is Ednah Rosen, and I'm from Mahalape. And I'm Masape. I'm a cook or chef, as we call it professionally. I've had the passion for cooking since I was a kid. And, you have a passion for something, but at the same time you feel like you have to go to school and do some fancy education, and while you are doing that, and you feel like my calling is cooking. So I really had difficulties to find my calling until very late. I went to different schools. I have tried different jobs. I wanted to do computer engineering, so I did that, and I did some courses in economics as well. Just trying to find out what it is really I wanted to do, and nothing really felt right until I started cooking. But when you are younger and you are not sure that this is what I really want to do, you still keep on pushing other things, because at that time being a chef wasn't as fancy as it is today.
It wasn't quite recognized.
It wasn't quite recognized.
So did you do your engineering degree?
Halfway. So everything was done halfway, because deep down I felt that that was not the right path for me. Yeah, but at certain ages you try and force things anyway because this is how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
So I did a whole lot of things halfway until I just gave up and said, now I'm going to do food.
Okay. We're going to talk about the book called Taste of Botswana, but before we do, and this is the book we're going to have a long conversation about, but before we do, tell us a little bit about Rosen's Pty Ltd, your company, how it started, the thinking behind it, etc.
The thinking behind Rosen's was that that's why it's Rosen's, and it's also not defined exactly what Rosen's is, because I was still trying to find my path in really how do I want to deal with food. Do I want to be a restaurant? Do I want to be a catering company? So then I decided, I think I'm more of a culinary entrepreneur, where I can touch, based on different areas like writing books, like training chefs, doing catering, and anything that has to do with food events. And I think now I have found my way and my calling, that I'm doing cookbooks, I'm doing trainings, and especially trainings. I'm interested in working with chefs in Botswana because I've lived abroad in Sweden for 30 years.
30.
30.
That's quite a bit of time.
That's a long time. A long time. And my stay outside Botswana showed me that the Europeans, the Swedish people, they're very keen on their food. I always hear people saying that we are diverting from our culture, taking the Western culture, but it's not really true, because the Western culture, they are very serious about their own culture. They are not letting anything in, and they are making money out of their cultural heritage, something that we do not do. And we do not do enough of. We don't do enough of. We don't do enough of at all. And going back to talking about food in Sweden, is that, food evolves, culture evolves. So they have their dishes that are traditional meals, just like we have our traditional meals in Botswana. But they have taken their traditional meals to the a la carte tables, to be for fine dining, while we still think that our traditional food just has to be traditional food. We cannot improve it and bring it to the finer tables. So we need. There is a lot of youth in Botswana, as you know. I think it's something like in Africa in general, 70% of the African population are youth, and it's a lot of them. And many of them do not have skills. And this is an amazing opportunity to train. Rosen
is a company that is involved in all these trainings. Take us through how it works, and maybe somebody is watching there and asking themselves, I might need some of these skills. What would Rosen do for them?
For the moment, I've been doing voluntary work, finding youth, or youth finds me. They're interested in cooking. They feel that I inspire them, and I teach them how to cook. And when someone has talent, which we have lots of, Botswana are very creative. You find someone and you teach them how to cook traditional food, they become so good at it. And since I'm working with different lodges, and I've got good contacts out in the lodges and hotels and guest houses, I always have someone to say, hi, I have this young person whom I have taught how to cook, who is very good. Do you have something for this person? And that's how they get employment.
Okay. Now, going back to yourself as a culinary entrepreneur, did you get any kind of training? Who were you being trained under? How did the whole process evolve?
Pure love, pure passion for food. Like I said, in Europe, you've got so many opportunities, and they've got this culture of volunteering, and they've had that for the longest time. And if we could do that more in Botswana, we would really get far. So that's how I started. I was cooking a lot at home. I was doing a completely different job. I was working with, I was a manager for a unit of people with disability at Stockholm municipality in Sweden. So after my when I knock off, I would already think of what to cook. Like at lunchtime, I was planning my dinner already in my head. So my way home, I would buy my ingredients and I would make myself a really lovely meal. So that's how it started. And then I would invite friends hosting. Swedes are very good in hosting. So since it's not like in Botswana, you can go on for a month or a week without interacting with people, just at work. And when you get home, you're alone. So I would invite people for the weekends to enjoy my meals. And people really loved my food, and they encouraged me to advance in my road to become a chef. So I started contacting restaurants, saying that can I volunteer to come and work with you. I was offering them if they could have Africa Week, where they are selling, they are offering their guests African food and first-hand Setswana food, of course. So they thought this was really interesting. So I would come to some restaurants and cook madombi with them, or cook whatever they were interested of after a conversation about Setswana food.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how were, in general, how were the 30 years you spent there? Was it a positive experience? Exciting experience?
It was positive experience, exciting experience. I learned so much, especially about finding your identity. Because when you are outside Botswana, you are being asked, where do you come from? You'll say, I'm from Botswana. And at that time, many people didn't even know what Botswana was. They will want to know, what do you eat in Botswana? How do you live in Botswana? Is there anything in Botswana? Because, you know, people out there sometimes have a very funny picture of how Africa is. And that is actually what brought the idea of writing The Taste of Botswana, to share my identity.
Incidentally, how did you end up in Sweden? You didn't tell us that part.
That part is off the record.
No. You're not going to get away with it.
I'm not getting away with it.
No.
No, I met a Swedish boyfriend. That's how I got to Sweden.
Here in Botswana.
Here in Botswana. He was working as a teacher, and he was my neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then he became your husband.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It brings a big smile to your face. This is the book, Bagaitso, Taste of Botswana. But before we talk about Taste of Botswana, there have been first edition and second edition. Tell us how you birthed the first edition, how it came about.
The first edition, like I said, passion. You know, I got my mind into Taste of Botswana, and I couldn't get the thought of writing the book. And as an author, you know how difficult it is to write a book, especially if you are self-publishing. So it was baby steps. I managed to make a smaller book, the first edition, and I put it out on YouTube. And I was discovered by a French cookbook award company called Gourmand Cookbook Awards.
They picked you from YouTube.
They picked me from YouTube.
Because you're getting quite a bit of traction.
Exactly. And they asked me to send them a copy to join the competition. And the competition is like, you know, the best cookbooks of Africa, Europe, Asia, and so on. And I competed with the best from Africa, South Africa, Tanzania, and so on. And that first edition
Your voice has gone down a
that
bit.
first edition won the award.
Yes.
It won the award, the best African cookbook.
Wow.
In 2018. 18.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I wrote the second edition, which was much better quality and more content. And it also won the 2023 cookbook awards.
What was what was the distinguishing factor? What made it rise above shoulders and head and shoulders above the rest of the books? In other words, what set the book apart?
I actually did ask one of the judges, and they told me that the book won because you could feel the spirit of Botswana in the book. They've never been to Botswana, but they could feel the spirit of the book, of Botswana in the book, because the book is not only about food; it's also about culture. It showcases our lifestyle. We are unique with the lifestyle of having 3 homes, home in town, Morakeng and Masimo. And many of Botswana, we have all those 3 or at least 2 of them. And they thought it was really interesting. And also what kind of food you eat, go Morakeng, and what kind of food you eat, go Masimo. And also that they were fascinated by that. Most of the dishes were vegetarian because a lot of people are now wanting to eat vegetarian food, and the healthiness of the food, and also fascinated by that we don't use spices. So there were so many questions. About
We don't use spices.
Traditionally we don't use spices. We use salt, and then we slow cook our food.
Yes. Wow.
So it brings out those pure natural flavors. And every time I cook our food to people who are not Botswana, they are just amazed. Are you serious? You only have salt and sometimes oil in the food. And I was like, yeah, it's just salt and oil. And also being interested in incorporating their food with their food, because since we don't use spices, then it's so easy to make fusion food out of Setswana food, because you can actually add anything, because you are getting a clean plate to play with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk for a moment about the cover. What food is this? Can you tell us what this is and why it won the competition for the cover, so to speak?
That is the bulb of Pty,
The
water lily Pty.
The Pty.
That you find in Maung. So Pty is amazing because you have the root that you cook together with the meat, and then it has also got some small they look like dito, they look like nuts, but bita makungara. So you also eat them in a different way. And that one, actually I have forgotten the name, but it's just on top where the flower
Tui, you
is.
said.
Iraki tui.
So you haven't forgotten the name.
No. So this tui, the plant, the water lily, has all these different things that you eat in different ways.
Okay.
So this is the bulb just before the flower opens. You eat it raw. It's just round and just like that.
What is the
and then you cut it into
what is
two.
the sort of the yellowish part of the
That's the cover of it, the shell.
Okay.
So that one is cut in half, the one you see on the picture. And when you cut it in half, it's got a lot of seeds. And these seeds they're a bit bitter when you eat them, and they are a bit fatty, like avocado. So you've got your omega-3s and all the omegas in there, so very healthy. So that one is eaten raw, so you just cut it and then you just eat it.
Is it unique to Botswana?
I'm not sure if water lilies are unique to Botswana, but the ones in Botswana,
I mean, Tui,
yes. As I know, I haven't had anyone anywhere before, unless maybe our neighbor countries have the bulb and they eat it in a different way.
Okay.
But in Botswana, it's unique to the Okavango and Maung side.
I notice you have a foreword by the great Alexandra McCall Smith, who's actually the founder of our law department in Botswana. I recall that he used to come and work with the late Professor Peter Takirambude many years ago when I was still a young law student at UB. And then, of course, he now became a very successful author for the Maramotse and so on. So, and he's actually created one or two Hollywood blockbusters as a result. One of which was shot right here in Botswana. So for me, he's a very interesting gentleman. I want to know how you hooked up with him and how he wound up writing your foreword.
I have read all of his books, and I really just love the way he has captured the spirit of Botswana. And I just asked him, this is crazy. I mean, he knows things about us, Botswana, that to be a foreigner in a country and know so much about people, then you must have really been with the people. So since I had read his books, and there is a lot of cooking in his books, Maramotse is cooking a lot for her husband and the children. So when I wrote the book, I love that he put Botswana on the map, because he's got millions of readers and followers. So only in the English language, I think he's got over 20 million readers and followers. And then you can imagine in the German language, the Spanish, and all other languages. And that put Botswana on the map. And when the books came out, I was still living in Sweden, and it just made questions when people heard I was from Botswana. Then they were just crazy. They would even ask me if I know Maramotse, because some of them thought Maramotse
was a real character.
So then I got the idea of that, he has covered that, because Botswana is well known for the wildlife, and now people are known
and
because
for the diamonds
of the book.
as well.
Yeah, and it is time for them to know how we live and how we eat. And so I wrote him actually an email. I didn't know him then. I just wrote an email to him and just told him I'm from Botswana. I've read his books, and now I'm doing this project. I sent him a chapter of the soft copy for him to view and see if he liked it, and asked if he could write the forewords for my book. And he said yes, and I had expected that maybe he just wrote 10 lines or something like that, and he wrote a whole 2-page. And I was really happy, and that's how we connected. And he comes to Botswana every year. So he was in Botswana last year in March. I also got the chance to cook for him and his guests. It was really...
Let me just read you a part of the foreword which maybe you can expand on. He says, as an author, I find that writing about the food that the characters in the story prepare is a useful way of introducing the reader to the nature of the country. Many of the dishes featured in this book have been prepared in the fictional world of Precious Ramotse of the #1 ladies detective agency in previous books in that series. It goes on and on and on. What do you want to add?
Not much, because he said it all. I mean, the fastest way to know a culture is through food.
Wonderful.
That's
But
the
it's not
fastest
just
way.
only him. There's a certain Clara Skinner here of Peolani in Flight magazine. Tell us about that one. How did you learn that one?
Clara actually reviewed my the first edition of Taste of Botswana. She totally loved the book. And she is a South African who used to live in Maun, and now she's back in South Africa. And when she saw the book, we know that even though we are neighbors with South Africa, our landscapes are totally different, and she really loves Botswana. So she was like taken back to Botswana because she saw the book when she was in SA.
Okay.
And she also wrote an amazing review about Taste of Botswana and Botswana.
Okay.
Yes.
Apart from Tsui, what do you say is featured in this book as one of your favorites?
We cannot run away from seswa. Seswa is really our favorite dishes. And I also like our power starches, mabele, lebelebele, and so on, because those are healthy. super healthy. And since I am on the healthy side, I love those traditional dishes that contains the grains, the maize, the beans. And as you can see today, many of us Botswana are going back to eat traditional food. You see how many ladies are out here in CBD selling traditional food.
Speaking of that, maybe I have a bone to pick with you when you glorify stuffed magwinya. When my understanding is that magwinya is not healthy, there's too much oil in that. Or does it depend on how you cook them?
It depends on how you cook them. It depends on how you cook magwinya. And again, even if it's not healthy, it's just something that we eat on special occasions. Like in the book, that's how we can present. It's just showcasing how we can present.
And it's stuffed magwinya. It's not just magwinya, stuffed.
It is stuffed.
Stuffed with what?
With siswa. That
Okay.
magwinya is stuffed with siswa and very delicious when you are doing your cocktail parties. The best can appear. And it's not that bad because you scoop out a lot of dough and then you put siswa in it. So you are actually just eating the crust of the magwinyas. Yeah.
Traditionally, meat was, at least when I grew up, eaten as a delicacy or as a for on special occasions. Why have we gone wrong these days? It seems meat, some people eat it twice, 3 times a day.
Same here.
Yeah.
When I grew up, we only ate meat. Gabo Independence, Manyalo, Christmas. So we were really looking forward to Christmas. But I think we got rich. We got rich and could afford meat every day. We have got those...
But it's killing us.
But that's the wealth diseases. We can afford to eat junk. So we are eating junk and it is messing up with our health. And I'm happy that many Botswana have, we have high rates of high blood pressures and sugar diabetes and all other diseases that are related to unhealthy eating. And you hear a lot of Botswana now going back saying, so now a lot of people are going back to eating Setswana food and healthy food and reducing the spices. The ladies out here, Mosibidi, they are very good. I ate a stew yesterday, cooked nicely but without hot spices and all those GMO filled ingredients.
All right, of course, a conversation like this would not be complete without speaking about Namaya Koko, Setswana, traditional. Tell us about that and what can people look forward to finding out about that?
It's really interesting how we are going back to the roots when it comes to food. I was at a consumer fair last week and I met a lady who approached me and said she is having a chicken poultry but only with Setswana chicken, not Setswana chicken. And we need to go back to eating Setswana chicken because we cannot eat these chickens that are farmed. The chicken is this small today and 6 weeks later you eat it. It says it all. And I think many Botswana are going back doing things the traditional way because we can see that this is not sustainable the way we are eating today.
Is that the one you call kuku ya matemekwane?
Irra. Even though but we have to
matemekwane go twa
na ba bangwe ba re matebelekwane na ra matemekwane ko mahala.
That means the bread.
That means madombi.
Okay.
Before they were madombi. And I hear some people, I heard somebody who was looking at the book saying nakibatale abo kholo aneng are so we can cooking changes. Akidumela horona la bo holo ale go motho na pele na sana istika na baking powder at that day
because na matarela na ria
na sana isti hotel so ka ke dio tse ne dintsi di se yo bo holo so go ngana sa dira bo yola ba Setswana ka gore bo yola ba Setswana khona go tsale hulo la teng bo le dirisa as isti.
Wow.
That is how isti ne dirwa bo holo
okay. So, all right. So someone may not fully understand where the danger is with this modern chicken versus the old traditional one. Can you just explain that?
I like the old traditional chicken. They are given maize, they are given mabele, they are given grains, and they walk out and sometimes.
Yes, yeah.
So that's organic.
So they have healthy diet.
They have healthy diet. That's organic.
They exercise a
and
bit.
they exercise as well. And then they are given the startera, the growera, the finishera. What is in those things?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. And yet we think that is the new normal to eat chickens like that.
But in reality, what does it do to you when
in reality, what does it do to you? Yeah.
All right. Still on the book, there's also chakalaka walk. What's that? How is it different from the normal chakalaka?
So, like I was saying, food evolves. The book has got the section where the food is authentic, exactly the way it is cooked traditionally. And then you've got dishes that we can use indigenous ingredients, but in a modern, contemporary fusion way. So with the chakalaka, usually it's like a relish, it's watery. But with the chakalaka wok, I have taken those ingredients that makes chakalaka and make a wok out of it. And it just gives it a different texture. Same taste but different texture. It's more crunchy, while the other one is like smooth and mushy. Yeah.
What about now opening a restaurant to where you can actually just go to town and as it were, give people everything that is in this book? Is that a thought that you've had?
I used to run a restaurant, and my challenge was getting skilled chefs cooking Setswana food or other food, not just being a cook. Because cooking is about having passion for cooking. Because chefs, we cook delicious food for you, and that is what gives me pleasure and happiness. And myself, I will be sitting somewhere and uncomfortable, eating something very simple, maybe just eating motoho or drinking yogurt after giving you that amazing experience. So that is the spirit of a chef.
Where was the restaurant and how long did it last?
My restaurant was in Maung, and it lasted for 2 years. Yes.
And you just closed it down?
I closed it down because it was it didn't go out the way I wanted to offer food. And that is what created the passion of training chefs instead. Our country, we need to train chefs.
So why didn't you train them in-house or within the restaurant?
It was quite challenging to offer great service and train at the same time.
Okay.
So I decided it's better to just focus on training.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe one day when I have the dream team, I will open
You may
the
open it
restaurant.
out. Maybe even in Gaborone, where there's a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never know.
And what about availing some of these things to other chefs? How does it work? Making these meals available or making these recipes available to others?
That is the mission. That is the mission, to have Botswana youth who are interested in becoming chefs to know how to cook our food. Because today when you go to a cooking school, you will be learning how to cook European food. And that's why we have got difficulties to find restaurants, hotels, lodges serving our food. My mission is to any Botswana, I should go to any restaurant in Botswana and there should be a menu that contains Setswana meals.
Setswana cuisine, yes.
Exactly, because if you go to the UK, you are not going to find any restaurant that will be serving you palichi or mabele.
As someone who likes green tea, I see that you've touched on musukujane iced tea. Never heard of anything like that. How
Have
did
you never had
I've heard of
musukujane?
musukujane, but iced tea.
So refreshing.
Tell me how that came about, because it sounds like a very unique combination.
I like iced tea. I like rooibos iced tea. I like all sorts of iced tea and mint iced tea. And we have our own mint that is musukujane.
Where can one get it these days?
In the bush. You're just walking in the bush, Komorakeng. You will just be hit by the smell of musukujane and you smell yourself to the bush and then you just pick it. You can cook it fresh, you can dry it.
Can someone do it sort of on a commercial basis, grow it themselves? Is it happening?
I don't know how, if you can grow it, but you can harvest it from the bush. So the musukujane tea I used, there is a company that is packaging musukujane tea that you can buy in the stores.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I should give it a try.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about setbacks. You would not be a successful entrepreneur that you are if you didn't encounter setbacks and challenges along the way. Are there any that you want to share?
I think my biggest challenge was actually that since I started with Taste of Botswana 10 years ago, I was ahead of time. And that people didn't really understand what is it I'm trying to bring to the table. So, and now I'm at the right time. I just came from Zimbabwe 3 weeks back. Zimbabwe held Africa's first gastronomy conference.
Wow.
Hosted by United Nations. And we are starting to talk about gastronomy tourism. And gastronomy tourism means that Africa, including our Setswana cuisine as part of that Africa, should be a culinary destination. People should come here not only for the wild animals, they should also say, I want to go to Botswana for the good food.
For the food, yeah.
So that is what is happening right now. And Africans in diaspora, you have your Nigerians in the UK, you have your other Nigerians in West Africans.
You do have quite a few restaurants all
and
over.
And they are pushing gastronomy, African gastronomy from where they are. Like right now we have a lady in the UK who has opened a restaurant that sells Nigerian food. And that's the first African restaurant to receive a Michelin star.
What's that? It's a recognition?
It's a recognition. It's a recognition.
International recognition.
Exactly.
Forgive my ignorance. I don't know much about the Michelin
it's
stars.
It's like Tebogo getting his gold. His gold at the Olympics.
Yes.
That's that level. Yeah, and it's not easy to get that star, I tell you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like top notch. So, and it's a lot of African chefs being recognized overseas for bringing African food to the table. So the interest for African food is huge as we speak.
So your setback or your challenge was recognition initially.
Exactly.
What is the situation now?
The situation now is different.
Is there a lot of demand?
The demand is there. I'm approached by lodges in Botswana and even South Africa, Nigeria, saying, how do you do this? Can you help us also do this? So I have Rulani, that is a 5-star lodge in Madikwe. I've been to them once to train their chefs, and they're interested in me coming back again so that they can implement Setswana food into their menu. Because the tourists, they are asking, we want to eat local food.
Yeah. Now, how has the training gone? I mean, have you replicated yourself among the youth, as it were, in terms of training?
I have just started, so it's a lot coming. It's a lot coming. And I will be posting in the future, for youth to enroll. I will be working with Batoba Poverty Eradication, Ministry of Entrepreneurship, to try and bring, because the value chain for gastronomy
it's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. The value chain is huge. Also to encourage bomma rona bonkoko ya rona ba ba santseng ba rata go lema, so ke ka reka kgetse ya mabele mo go bone, ke ka reka kgetse ya morogo. And imagine when the hotels, restaurants and lodges do that, they buy straight organic food, very healthy. And then we encourage these our elderlies who love to holema to continue doing that.
I met you last year at the fairgrounds there. What was that about, and what is that aspect of your business where you're displaying? Tell me about that effort.
That effort is, when I'm out showcasing a taste of Botswana, then I get to meet all these foodies we have Botswana doing. There's a lot going on. It's really, really interesting. So I'm really looking forward to after all these events, maybe put together a gastronomy event. Because I met these ladies who are doing dried fruits. I met this gentleman who is doing hibiscus drinks made of hibiscus flowers that are growing in our yards. We don't even know they are edible. And those things are bringing in new elements to the gastronomy. This time I met a lady who is somewhere outside Gaborone. She's actually farming only hibiscus trees to harvest hibiscus flowers. And with hibiscus flowers, you can make your teas, you can make your soft drinks.
I didn't even know they're edible.
They're edible. You can make your cakes. You can even make your barbecue sauces with the hibiscus. You can make your salad dressings. So there is a lot of things going on. Every Motswana is doing, especially after COVID, everyone has got their own project going on at different places. And I want to bring all those foodies together. And we say, this is Botswana gastronomy. This is what we offer. So
what did it achieve then, going to that particular... I'm trying to remember the name of the event.
It was the Global Expo.
The Global Expo.
Yes.
What has come out of that?
It has come out of the idea of me doing a gastronomy event because I connected. I saw all those people that I didn't know were existing. So we do have the material to put together something really amazing. So the collaboration. We need to collaborate.
Okay. Let's talk about your triumphs and successes. Maybe we can start on the social media side. How did it all start, and currently what's happening? What activity are you involved in on social media?
On social media right now, I'm talking gastronomy tourism. And that is the topic. And foodies...
That's on YouTube? Or Facebook?
On Facebook, yeah. So, and that is resulting in me working on my YouTube channel to share more about Taste of Botswana and Setswana cuisine. So, just seeing the possibilities, just seeing the interest, just seeing the opening of the doors that have been closed for the longest time because I was far ahead before time is amazing. That is what is happening now. So you are going to see a lot of Taste of Botswana on social medias, on YouTube. You are going to see Taste of Botswana collaborating with a lot of foodies in Botswana.
Okay. And you are garnering quite a bit of following?
I am.
Tell us about that.
I have people coming. Now I'm at GICC. I've get messages of people saying, I'm coming to you tomorrow. You don't know me, but you inspire me. And that is the whole idea, to inspire people. Yesterday, I was visited by a young girl who is saying, you inspired me, but I have passion for marshmallows. So I do Lerumo marshmallows. I do... She was doing all sorts of marshmallows with our indigenous ingredients. So it's really fascinating. And I was, she was like, they are fragile. I don't know how to do... to keep them, whole and package them. And I was like, why don't you vacuum pack them. Because then they will just go small. When then you open them, I buy them from you, then they will just become.
So you solved
good
her
again.
problem.
Exactly. So we are helping each other to solve problems. I when I was at the consumer fair, I also met this lady who was doing cakes, and I gave her a lot of tips and ideas of how she can preserve her cakes, and so that she doesn't have to bake every day.
Yeah. When we were prepping, I asked you about mushrooms. I don't know if I'll find the page. Tell me about mushrooms. And what can you enlighten the audience about mushrooms?
Maboa.
Maboa, yes.
Those ones.
Tell us more.
Were my favorite when I was young, and that's actually the only ones that I know are edible. We have a lot of mushrooms.
Okay.
And then you have those
so
ones.
You should avoid the tutunchuan because they can knock you out.
They can.
They're poisonous.
They are poisonous. They are poisonous.
How do you tell them apart?
Maboa, they become huge. Yeah, and
what do you mean huge?
So long. Only more so long. You can always find them more so long. Termite mount. After
this is what I was looking
during
for.
during rain seasons. Very very big.
They look heavy.
They are heavy. They are heavy.
And you can just munch them without cooking them.
You can eat them without cooking. You can fry them. They actually taste really delicious. They're like chicken. You just fry them with your olive oil, and you put a little bit of salt and
Is
white
that a
pepper.
particular part of the country where they are found, or
They're
they're everywhere?
All over Botswana. I would think
Yeah. And what do you say, why the cultural side of considering someone lucky if they find them? Explain that a bit.
They are so rare to find. They are rare to find. So it's not everyone who finds them. So you have to be at the right place at the right time. And your ancestors say,
So you're considered blessed if you find them.
You are considered blessed if you find them. Yeah.
Do they have any kind of nutritional value that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, but like I usually say to people, there is nothing in our culture that we eat that is not medicinal. There is always that health aspect and always that medicinal part of it. Our ancestors, they were eating maboa, and they handed it over to us. Bare ashora hore, this is you can eat this. This is not dangerous. So I can follow the footsteps.
For those like me who don't know much about gastronomy, tourism, how did the idea start? And in Africa and in Botswana, how far are we with this, and how do you propose to take it further?
This is the new level of tourism. So in Europe, you will find groups that just travel to Italy, for example, to learn how to cook Italian food, or just travel to Italy to go to it's a tour where they go to different places, and in Italy, maybe in South Italy, Central Italy, North Italy, to just eat food from different regions of that country. And that has been going on for many years in Europe, and even in Thailand. And now the shift is to Africa. What does Africa have to offer? And that's why United Nations is even interested in hosting the first gastronomy conference in Africa, to find strategies and ways.
Is it going to be an annual event?
It's going to be an annual event, and it's really popular because the First Lady of Zimbabwe made sure that the first one was hosted in Zimbabwe. And the state
president,
from different,
or the state apparatus, the state ministers,
yes, from different countries were there, and they were all raising hands for which country is next. So next is Tanzania, and then after that is Sierra Leone, And I think there were others who were
Botswana is not.
Botswana will probably be there soon as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So there are countries are fighting to host this, so that the chefs, because when I was in Zimbabwe, I think all the Zimbabwean chefs were there, with wide open eyes and ears,
Do you
wanting
get
to
to
hear.
taste some food during these conferences?
We did.
Oh,
They
there's
did
some cooking as
yeah.
Oh.
And Botswana was also there. We had Chef Manana who was there presenting our food.
Okay.
So it's really interesting, and that's the next thing when it comes to tourism.
Okay.
And I love it because, like I was saying, the value chain of the whole food system.
In what sense?
The chefs will be engaged, the farmers will be engaged, and so everybody
Students, the entire community.
Yeah, the entire community will be involved. The youth will be getting jobs as chefs because the demand will be growing. We want chefs who comes and cooks Setswana food.
Okay.
The street ladies who are selling food on the streets, they will gain. They will gain.
Okay. Do you watch these food shows? I've noticed that they've become very popular, where people watch different cuisine shows on television.
They are very popular, and I do watch them. But I still feel that it is so... we in Botswana, we are not... We have to start from the roots. I feel that we cannot just go straight and be like Jamie Oliver and, start showing tiramisu and all those things. We need to package our own cuisine first.
Ednah Rosen, carrying on with our conversation, I'd really love for us to touch on your experience. You mentioned how you went to Sweden for 30 years and now you've been back in Botswana for 10. So how has it been? Maybe you could just compare the experience and just summarize any highlights that you want to share.
Being out of the country and staying in Europe for 30 years like I did, a lot happens while you are gone. The developments were just out of this world when I came back. It wasn't the same Botswana that I left. And when we are out there, Botswana and other Africans who leave their countries and stay in Europe or America, we miss home. We are always missing home. And what we miss is home the way it was when we were there. And then when we decide to relocate and come back, we come back to a totally different country. And it's home in a way, but in other ways you are a stranger. And during those 30 years, you don't know how the society works any longer. You don't know how business is done here any longer. So there is a lot of things to relearn. And it's tough to adjust. It's really, really tough to adjust because for some strange reasons, things don't work as smooth and as simple as it does in Europe. And things takes time. You have to learn to be patient. And usually it's tough for many of us. And many of us who are trying to come back home, we give up after a year or two.
Why?
Because it takes a long time to get back into the system. It took me 5 years. And during these 5 years, the first 5 years, I was like, I'm going back. I'm going back. But I loved the people. I loved the sun. I loved... it was cold. So I loved everything about Botswana. But getting into business and doing things,
adjusting.
And adjusting. It took 5 years. So I will just tell any Botswana who is out there that when you come here, you have to be patient. Don't think you will come here after a year, everything is going smooth for you. You have to get into the system and be baptized again and be a Botswana again.
What about the business side?
The business side is different to do business here and to do business in Europe, and patience. Patience. I think when we come back from Europe, we want things to be fast. We don't really understand the business culture. there is a lot of unwritten
Rules,
rules
yeah.
and etiquette that you have to go through, that you make mistakes because you don't know that you want to do things the way you are used to. So it's a lot of learning. And I have learned a lot, and I have learned to step back and take it easy, and just let time bring me to the right people and right projects.
Okay.
Era.
Wow, that's very interesting. And but now 10 years later,
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
you wouldn't want to go back to Europe.
No.
Why are you so emphatic?
In Europe, I would say you have everything. You have your beautiful house, you have your beautiful environment. Everything is perfect. It's clean. It's beautiful. But for me, it felt like you exist. You are not living. You are existing.
Oh, you're just a number.
Yeah, you are just existing. But in Botswana, you are a human being. You are living.
You're respected.
Yeah, and just the fact that I can just say I'm going to Morakem for the weekend. I can say I'm coming to Mr. Mogobe. I'm coming over to the weekend to visit you. It's organic. It's not planned. When my mood says I want to go to Maung to see a friend, I can do that.
You can do that. So there's greater freedom, as it were.
There is freedom, and you feel alive, and your life is not routine every day. Like the beginning of this week, I didn't know I was going to be here today.
Yeah. Another question for you is, and these youngsters, young entrepreneurs are always asking me about to ask my guests, what about money? Is there money to be made in this profession of yours and these endeavors of yours? Are there prospects for economic success?
There are. There are a lot of opportunities. We just need to tap into them. And gastronomy tourism is one of those
Can you become
sectors.
rich? Can you become a multi-millionaire from this?
Definitely. You can. I mean, if you are smart, like right now there is a company in Zambia, one of its kind. It just does tours, gastronomy tours. They just book packages for people who wants to eat. I was in Maung in May to host a cooking class with 6 Americans who wanted to cook Setswana food.
Wow.
And I was called, and I was like, I don't want to come to Maung because I'm in Mahalape to come and host a course for 6 people to cook. And they just said, mention how much you want to pay. We will pay. We want you to come. So I could just say any number that I wanted, and they paid. And I was able to do that.
Just for a week with them?
For a day, 3 hours.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
For 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just need to do more of those.
We need to do more of those.
So they would just grab your book and pick something, and can you do this for what ingredients do you need?
I put together a menu for them, and then I buy the ingredients, and then I go there and I cook with them. And then when they finish cooking, after paying what I wanted, they also buy my book.
Yes.
Yeah. So I end up maybe getting 2,000 pula per person
Yeah.
for 3 hours.
The advantage is the strength of the currency from Europe and America.
Exactly.
They have a huge advantage there.
And with the gastronomy tourism, you can turn your moraka into a hosting home.
Okay.
So you tell people, I will cook for you. You will milk my cows, and I will tell you how I'm living in my moraka, and that's your business.
Yeah. Wow.
Or masimu.
Yes, indeed.
Harvesting time or plowing time, when the tourists come, you can show them Horerele Majang. So there is a lot of opportunities.
Okay. Let's talk long term now. If you're thinking a decade, 2 decades down the line, what future emerges for Rosen Pty Ltd, and obviously for the Taste of Botswana and for you in general?
A culinary school for traditional food. I'm in touch with the herbalists I met a lady who is using all these herbs. Bo kgato ke botibidiwa mang bo sengaparile bo legala la tshwene bo makhona tsotlhe. She does amazing things with those. And she's working into infusing those together with dite. Go bo Limpopo go na le this herbs that we are not using that are teas bo tepane kana gate tepane le bo dia. So she's trying to mix all these things and make craft teas with our herbs. So I see a whole lot of baobab powder. Let's use baobab powder more. You know baobab powder it is
it's used for what?
Baobab powder is superfood. In Europe they call it a superfood. When I was in Sweden already 10 years ago, baobab powder was going for 1.8 a kg. So we can harvest
Swedish money.
So we can harvest those baobab powder and export them to Europe. Baobab powder, I think it's like 50 gram of baobab powder contains as much C vitamin as in 4 oranges.
How do you extract that powder from the baobab tree?
You get the baobab fruit, you open it, it has got a lot of seeds covered with powder. You take them out, or you pound them, and then wadisefa. And then you get a beautiful powder that is very healthy.
Is it easy to harvest or it's fairly involved?
They fall. It's easy because you just wait for them to fall from the tree and then you just pick them up.
Okay, that's great.
They just fall from the tree and you pick them
So
up.
let's go back to the school. So 10 years down the line, you'll have a school with how many students? What's the setup like? Paint a picture.
Oh, the setup is like I'm having these young chefs who are cooking Setswana traditional food, who are cooking Setswana fusion food. I see this school also being a tourist attraction where you have tourists coming, also having cooking lessons, where you have a restaurant where they also, if they are not doing cooking lessons, they are just coming to for us to have a tour about Setswana food, and then they end up in a restaurant where they eat Setswana traditional food. I see young chefs traveling out to different parts of Africa and the continent and the world, showcasing our food, being in competitions, proud and confident in what they are doing. So that is what I'm seeing.
Oh, this is
I see food festivals going on.
Wow, sounds very, very exciting. Are you looking for a piece of land for this, or you already have it?
I think I have a small piece of land already.
Which you are targeting for this?
Which I'm targeting for this.
Okay, sounds very, very exciting. Now, do you have an overall message for the viewers? But before you give them a message, you have a chance to ask me a question. Do you have a question for me?
I do have a question for you. The podcast.
Yes.
The podcast. How did you come with the idea? And how do you want to empower us, Botswana, with this?
Yeah, we've already done some of that, in the sense that it's become the most popular podcast dealing with entrepreneurship and business in the country. And also it has now broadened itself or diversified its offering to a thing called the Legal Series, where I interview different people, members of society, including lawyers, to see how the law affects them. And then we are also launching a entrepreneurship and real estate aspect series as well. So it's blossoming and growing and almost having a life of its own. And the beautiful thing that comes out of it is the recognition that we get as a company, and also our ability to attract other role players in the entrepreneurship space. For instance, we have the entrepreneurship program, the Mogobe entrepreneurship program, which feeds off guests who come and share their wisdom here. And then we also have the real estate program. Also, some of the guests who come here are able to interact with our students. So it is growing, and I would like to think that it's empowering, it's anchoring our brand, and it's empowering our stakeholders. So it has really given birth to other things that I didn't contemplate when I started it. So I hope I've answered your question.
You have answered my question, because this question was deliberate, because I want to package it together with my message. I'm fascinated by Mr. Mogobe, of your age, being a content creator of this caliber. And I know both you and I, we are not born with this. With cell phones in our hands.
No.
And yet you have created this this content, and my message to the young people is to really learn from you, to create consistency and a powerful and tailor their message, because that's how you started. You wanted to do this podcast to cover this this need, and it is growing. So to the youth, do like Mr. Mogobe. Start with one thing and let one thing lead to another. And there is content creation is also a profession nowadays. You can make money out of it. Like you were asking, can you make millions? People do make millions out of
they do.
Content creation. So we have all those streams that can benefit us and give us business.
Yeah, wonderful. That's a brilliant message. Now let's conclude by you sharing all your contact details. Firstly, where the book is available, and then all your social media contacts and everything.
Thank you. You can find my book at Exclusive Books, at Sanitas, Botswana Book Center, at Botswana Craft, that's in Gaborone, and in Maun you will find them at Mopani Trading. In Kasane you will find the books at Bazadi. You can also find my book.
It retails for how much?
It depends on different businesses, but from 500 upwards. You can find it on Amazon as well, as I said. And on social media, you find me. I'm Ednah Rosen official, both on Facebook, Instagram, and I have a website page called ednahrosen.com. And my contact numbers are on the website and on Facebook as well. And follow me and see what is coming up, especially for you chefs. Look out for my programs where you can come and learn how to cook Setswana food and get a chance to work at some of the most exciting and beautiful lodges and hotels we have in Botswana.
All right. It remains for me to thank you so much, Mayor Rosen, for sharing so generously, and also to remind the viewer to strike the subscribe button. Please do that if you haven't done so already. And as well to mention that I have a book, Momp Nuggets of Grit. It's available from Exclusive Books. It's also available from First Floor, Mogobe Plaza, right here in the center of the CBD. Thank you for taking the time out, and it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much,